Hello. In this week's Parsha, it says, Lo salim pula sechir, that you have to pay someone on time. And often things happen where we feel that we have justifications. Reb Zusha Hanopoli was a very great tzaddik, and every time the Chassidim gave him any money for davening, for pidyonos, for kvitlach, he would immediately give it away to tzedakah, so he never had any money. His wife was used to this, but occasionally there were things that she desired. And at one point she felt she really needed a new dress, a nice dress, not a new dress of rags. So with great difficulty, over some time, after being nagged for a while, Reb Zusha gathered together the money to buy the nice fabric she wanted. And he took it to the tailor. He says, now I'll have some peace, quiet. A week later, he asks the Rebbitzin, no, you have the dress now. She goes, no, what dress? He goes, I bought the fabric. I took it to the tailor. What's going on? She says, well, I went to get the dress, and the tailor's oldest daughter had just been engaged, and the mechutanim were there and saw him sewing this garment, this very beautiful new dress, and they assumed it was for the kala, and when they found out not, it became a problem. The kala was very upset by it, by the fact that her future in-laws are upset, and so on. So I told him, give the dress to the kala. So Zusha said to the Rebbitzin, no, did you pay him for the work? And she says, what do you mean? I gave him the garment. I also have to pay him. He says, Lo telim pula sechir. He said he's been working a week sewing this. He's been assuming that he'd be getting some money so he could buy some food and the other necessities for the house, and now he doesn't have anything. I mean, you put him in a horrible situation here. So immediately the Rebbitzin understood, and she got up and she went and paid the tailor the full value of the garment. There's a similar story with Rabbi Yolish of Satmar, that when in Yitav Lev, the central shul in Satmar, a huge place that holds thousands of people, and air conditioning was finally invented and being used, the Kahila raised money and they hired a contractor, and they wanted it in by a certain time, and there's written in the contracts, that there are penalties if it's not done at a certain. And through no fault of the contractors, some of his suppliers didn't deliver some of the things on time, so it was delayed. So they didn't have to pay most of the money, or a huge amount of the money. And the Chassidim are very happy, and they go tell the Rebbe, we've been able to save this huge amount of money. It's wonderful. And the Rebbe says, you didn't pay him. On the day that he finishes the work, you're supposed to give him his work, his wages. You can't keep the wages of the worker. You go to him tonight to his house. And they said, but Rebbe, look, the contract says if he's not done by this time, then we don't have to pay this amount. And it was much later than that, so we don't. Rabbi Yolish said, on the day that he does the work, on the day that he finishes the work, you have to pay him. Okay. They go back and forth. Finally, Rabbi Yolish made it clear that if the contractor wasn't paid, that he wouldn't be davening in the shul. And of course, he schlied him and then had to pay it. Often, there's something called mori hater latzmo. A person always figures out a way that they don't have to do something. It's all right this way. It's all right that way. But when you see it by someone else, you understand that this isn't in fact the correct idea. There is a story that's told about several people. It's most commonly told about the Shach, although it actually is from 2 generations earlier. The Shach wrote his commentary on Chosh Mishpat, and he had the Din Torah concerning something with an absolute amaretz. The person didn't know how to learn, could barely present his case coherently. The Shach prepared for several weeks with all of his learning and skills and so on. And they went before the Dayan. And the Shach brilliantly argued his case. He was unknown at the time. And the Amaretz, the simple man, told his story. No arguments, just simply said what he felt had happened. The Dayan says he has to be Ma'ayin. The Dayan looks, comes out, gives the Pesach 100% in favor of the Amaretz against the Shach. The Shach accepted the Pesach and said to the Dayan, he said, listen, I accept the Pesach of the Rav, but I don't understand. I thought my arguments were very good. The Dayan says, yes, I would have thought so too, except there's this brand new Sefer in Chosh Mishpat, the Sifsei Chachamim, the Shach. And if you look over here, he discusses our case. And he showed the Shach what the Shach had previously written in his commentary on Chosh Mishpat. And the story that's told in the Yeshiva Shevelt is then the Shach realized when he was objective, he saw exactly what the halacha was. When he was involved in it, he couldn't see it. So this is a very important lesson to us, especially when we're dealing with things that connect to us ourselves, that we have to be more careful to ask shailas about it, to make sure that we're not nogea b'mamon chavero, that we're not taking things improperly from something that belongs to someone else. This is an idea that is perhaps one of the hardest halachas bein adam lechavero, for a person to learn, a person to think out, a person to develop. But it's very important that these things become inculcated in us, become part of us. It's Parshas Kedoshim, the holiness. Part of being holy is knowing when you have to consult for someone else to get some type of determination of whether this is mine or it's someone else's. There's a sefer, I haven't read it, I've seen it on the bookshelf, the halachos of other people's money. It's a very interesting idea. Often people are monetarily focused primarily on themselves. Sometimes we should be focused on other people. This is a midah of many tzaddikim, that they gave away whatever they had. And the idea of being meiser kasafim properly, something that all of us should think about as we work to the elevation of this week's Parsha, Parshas Kedoshim. Everyone should have a wonderful, inspiring Shabbos.